Hello everyone, welcome back. I hope you're having a great day. I'm not going to show a beautiful picture of our great country behind me to start off this video. I just couldn't stomach the idea of putting a nice picture of our country in the same video as where I'm going to show a picture of this guy here. This is Pete Hoekstra. He's the US ambassador to Canada. And once again, he's opened his mouth and insulted all of us. And it's just... Let's get into it. Reported here on September 18th on CBC, the headline reads, U.S. Ambassador disappointed with anti-American sentiment in Canada. He was asked in an interview what surprised him about Canada since he started his new job back in April. And his quote is, I'm disappointed that I came to Canada, a Canada that it is very, very difficult to find Canadians who are passionate about the American-Canadian relationship. He was also upset at our finance minister and said that he should tone things down. When our finance minister, François-Philippe Champagne, used the word war multiple times on Tuesday while talking about how Canada is trying to reinvent the Canadian economy, like it did back in 1945 after the Second World War. We've been there during the war when it comes to aluminum. We've been there during the war when it comes to steel. He was trying to say that we've been there for the United States, supplying them aluminum and steel during the war, but now the United States has imposed hefty tariffs on those imports. Obviously, when someone turns its back, you have to find ways to strengthen the Canadian economy and look at new markets, look at new industries. The U.S. ambassador fired back, saying that using such language is a dangerous place to go. Can you believe? Let me continue, and then I'll give you my opinion. The president has often said becoming the 51st state is how Canada can avoid facing tariffs on its goods. And Hoekstra, the U.S. ambassador for the U.S. in Canada, said that Trump's words can be taken as a term of endearment. This guy lives in a completely different world. Now, I could talk about what he said, but I want you to listen to it from his mouth directly, because this guy is just, let's just watch.
It is very, very difficult to find Canadians who are passionate about the American-Canadian relationship, okay? You ran a campaign where, it was anti-American, elbows up, me too, it was an anti-American campaign.
So let me unpack this for you. I just showed you this video. This is published on CBC. I'll link the link to this YouTube video in the description of this video, but let me unpack it here. So he says it's very difficult to find Canadians in Canada that are passionate about the relationship with the United States. You're right. It is very difficult. Do you know why? Because we're not interested in a relationship with the United States now. You know what would be very easy to find in Canada or in a lot of places around the world? It would be easy to find people that are passionate about diversifying and making relationships with other countries around the world. So you're absolutely right about that. He doesn't know why, but he's right about that. And then he says we ran a very anti-American campaign. Well, one party in particular did run an anti-American campaign, an anti-Trump campaign, and that party won and formed the government. So you're absolutely right about that as well. Do you know why that party won the election? By running that type of campaign? Because the president at the time, during the campaign and just before the campaign, was saying Canada is a non-country that shouldn't exist without the United States. Canada's been ripping us off for who knows how long. We've been subsidizing Canada. Canada's a nasty country. We're going to crush Canada economically. And really, the only way that Canada should exist is if it becomes the 51st state. And the condescending American superiority attitude that your president put on full show for us. Of course, we ran an anti-American campaign. We don't want to have anything to do with you. You're absolutely right. But this guy, this is the question. Like, how does his brain process what happened and come up with the statement that he's very disappointed that he can't find Canadians that are excited and passionate about reinvigorating our relationship? Like, do you live in the real world? Do you have a wife? Honey, I know that last Christmas I insulted and berated you in front of all our friends at the Christmas party. I told them that you really shouldn't even be yourself. You should be more like me. And I'm going to crush you economically because you've been ripping me off for so long, and that you're a nothing person, and that you're really nasty, and that I've got to teach you a lesson. And I noticed that you didn't particularly like that, honey, and you moved out and left me. And you've been gone now since Christmas. And I got to tell you, honey, I'm feeling a little disappointed that you're not very enthusiastic about rekindling our relationship. Is that the world you live in? Is that how you'd go about trying to rebuild the relationship with your wife if she left you because you were being an ass? Is that how you would do it? Is that how your brain works? And you've got to dig deep and think about what he said exactly there, because he was on the spot and just speaking without a script. And he said, you ran an anti-American campaign. Yeah, that's true. It was elbows up. Yeah, we use that slogan, elbows up. That's kind of the hockey thing, right? Going into the corners with your elbows up, being ready for a fight. Yeah, that's true. And then he said, me too. You're on an anti-American elbows up, me too? I can't. Do you know what the Me Too movement was? You chose to say those words to represent the Canadian campaign? Like, you were the victim? The US was the victim? Canada collectively got together and Me Too'd you? What are you even talking about? How does your brain work? Now, I could go on here, but let me show you the other piece, the other clip of him speaking in this video.
Much of that messaging is continuing. We got to be tough against the Americans. We're not going to buy F-35s. We're going to ban your alcohol. We're going to tell our people not to travel to the United States. I'm sorry, but that's what we see. That doesn't tell me that Canada is passionate about this relationship in the same way that we are.
I'm sorry, but that's what I see? Of course you see that. That's the reality. That's what you see because it's true. It is carrying on. And we're not going to shop and buy U.S. products. And we're not going to take vacations in the U.S. And I hope we do cancel the F-35 contract. And it's not going to stop. It's going to accelerate. Now that winter's coming, I hope that Canadians spend as much time in our own country over the winter and winter holidays. And if we need a dose of sunshine, we don't need to go to Florida or California. We can fly right over those places and go to beautiful Cancun or Los Cabos in Mexico, because you don't have a monopoly on sunshine. There's sunshine all over the world. There's a big dark cloud over your country, and we're going to avoid it. And I know that some of you are watching, if you're Canadians and you're watching this, you're probably getting this feeling in your stomach like I am, that feeling that you get right before you're going to be sick, before you're going to vomit. This guy gives me the urge to want to just, I'd ruin my recording equipment here. If I think about this too much, I would vomit all over my equipment in front of me. This guy is the poster child personification of how Canadians view Americans right now. In particular, the American government, the politicians, the guys in charge. And I should say, I know all Americans are not like this, and we don't view all Americans like this, but this guy is appointed to represent the United States government here in our country. And he comes here and speaks like that to us. I think those are dangerous words to use, trade war, that you're escalating the rhetoric a little bit here. This unashamed, condescending, conceited arrogance is America to us right now. This is the personification of what it means to be American in our eyes. What he just said, that's what he sees. I see that there's no end in sight. That's what we see. We see you representing your country and your president speaking like this to us. And you have to try and unpack this and try and understand this person's brain. How he would get to a point where we've all seen what's happened since Christmas, since Donald Trump with the rhetoric and the insults and everything we've talked about, the 51st state. We've seen all that. And now we have the reaction, how we as Canadians have reacted. And somehow in his brain, he's interpreting this as a fault of ours. He's disappointed that we're not willing to rekindle the relationship. Oh, honey, I'm still so disappointed with you. I know you moved out at Christmas, But it's been months now, and I thought you'd come groveling back and want to get back together and work on our relationship together. Don't you value our relationship, honey? No, she doesn't. She's moved on. You're going to get the papers from the lawyers soon, and you'll probably be surprised. Well, why does she want a divorce? How could she do this to me? This guy lives in a strange alternate reality with about 100 million Americans who have no clue, no perception, cannot read the room, don't have any clue what is going on around the world and how they are being perceived by all of us. And I got to say this specifically to Americans, and I bet all the Canadians that are watching are going to agree. I think Americans misunderstand, or they confuse two things about Canadians. They confuse being polite with being nice. Canadians are polite. We're respectful and we're polite. We listen, we give our opinion, and we politely engage. But we're not necessarily nice. And we're not necessarily nice to people who are assholes. That's why we're boycotting all your products. That's why we're not traveling there. We're politely rejecting you, because nice and polite are two different things. And the other thing that Americans confuse and don't understand, and this is just pathetic, the Americans' view of other countries in the world, what they want in a relationship, how they see their country interacting with the rest of the world, is that of everyone else being submissive. For the United States, that we have a good relationship with this country. They submit to everything we want. Whereas the rest of the world works on a different parameter. The rest of the world wants respect in their relationship with all other countries. We look for friends that we can have respectful dialogue and negotiations, sometimes heated negotiations, sometimes we can disagree on things respectfully. But the United States, they don't care about respect. They want submissiveness. And Canadians don't submit. You are talking to an empty room. What this guy's talking to, he's talking to Donald Trump. He's talking to the TV, to the camera. There's a red light on the camera, and he's speaking to it, and he's saying what he hopes his boss will like. But 40 million of us don't really care what you say. You might as well be in the middle of a Canadian forest just shouting at the trees for how much we are listening to you. But honey, you've left me months ago. Aren't you missing me? I'm fairly disappointed that you're not groveling and coming back and being the submissive wife I deserve. So I could go on, but I'll work myself into a frenzy here, and I don't want to ruin my whole day. So let me just finish here by giving my respectful and polite Canadian response to Mr. Ambassador. And before I give it, just reminding you, subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying my content, and leave your comments in the comment section. Let me know what you think of the ambassador's message to us. But let me just close by saying respectfully and politely, as a Canadian does, Mr. Ambassador, fuck you and fuck your president.